Welcome to the Real Triathlon Podcast. I'm your host, Garrick Lowen, here with Nicholas Chase and Jackson Laundry.
Welcome back. I could not be more excited to bring on Kirsten, Kasper, and Matthew Sharpe from Boulder, Colorado. Both Olympians. We've got a lot of talent here. How are you both doing?
Yeah, good. Very happy to be home. Still adjusting to the jet lag, but yeah, it's nice to leave Paris and come back to normal life again.
There's so much to unpack in this episode that there's details, there's things I've never even quantified within having to go to the Olympics, the pressures, the travel logistics, being on Team USA, the media responsibilities. Matt, I want to hear your take on everything
Few
and
takes
how.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, two different experiences here. Now, first off, congratulations, absolutely stellar job getting there. I know that
Thank you.
with your resume, it is just like it's like fine lines between who gets selected. So that's amazing to just show up and be one of the best in the world for triathlon.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Next, wow, how was I guess the biggest thing we dealt with as spectators for this event was just the water quality. It was always there. It was always a punch button, like talk about water quality, talk about the water quality.
Yes.
I'm sure Matt probably got tired of hearing of it too from all the texts. So
A lot going on.
how was that information continuously relayed? Was that done well? And how did that take into account for all the planning and canceled swim practices?
Yeah, sure. So every morning we'd wake up to an email from World Triathlon giving us an update with numbers on what the water quality was. Actually, I feel like amongst the athletes and coaches, there was no talk about the water quality. It was more the social media. The media there was always asking us questions. So I feel like there was more hype coming from the outside than actually the participants itself. Given we raced it last year, we were all fairly confident that with the contingency plan, there were several days they could rely on that a swim was going to happen. It was just a matter of being flexible on waking up at 4 a.m. on 4 a.m. on race day and being like, are we racing or are we not? So, like for example, the men obviously they didn't know until like 4:15 in the morning that it wasn't going to be their race day. So that was kind of crazy. That aspect, preparing for the race, just going to bed, being like, well, we'll see in the morning.
Hmm.
But to be honest, I feel like the athletes handled it well. Everyone wanted a triathlon. So if they said, okay, let's go, I don't think there was anyone that was hesitant to jump in to the river.
It seems like triathlon is getting more I mean, the crowd support was awesome. There's a lot more eyes on our sport. Matt, from your perspective, going to the Olympics, what year did you compete?
So it was 2021, but it was the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so when we were there, beforehand, there's a little bit of talk of water quality, not the same as what went down before Paris. For that Olympics, it was all about COVID and whether it was going to happen and stuff. So that was kind of the big hype beforehand.
Yeah,
Cool.
I will add that even with the talks about the water quality, I thought it was great for, yeah, attention for our sport. Because I was even in the elevator with some other Team USA athletes and they asked me what sport. And I said triathlon. And they're like, oh my God, we're so excited to see if you swim in the river. And I was like, wow, I appreciate your excitement. I wasn't expecting that saying I'm a triathlete for you guys to be that stoked. So it was kind of cool, even just the buzz around other athletes, other sports that triathlon was getting because of this extra element of unknown and that the fact that we were making historic swimming in the river. Yeah.
No doubt. I think from an external perspective, tuning in every day in the morning and every evening, just the Olympics have been such a big part of most of USA, anyone's life in the last 2 weeks. So you were there, you were on that boat that I saw on TV, you were part of that opening ceremony. Matt, where were you during all that?
So when they did like the opening ceremony and stuff, I was still here in Boulder, watching on TV. But I arrived on the Monday in Paris, and then yeah, that was right when things were going down with the men's race and the water quality. So and we chatted about it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a bit chaotic, but I think it made it really interesting for triathlon at large and in the media because it was a game of, oh, are they going to race? Are they not going to race every day? It's like a little soap, whatever drama. it just every day there was a new twist, and you never know what was going to happen. So, yeah, definitely something to follow in the media.
I think it's hard for us to kind of like understand all that because that's all we heard was water quality. But it's nice to know that it was amongst like the conversations of the other Olympians. And again, that boat you were packed on going down the river was packed of the finest USA athletes like I've ever seen, including the NBA players.
Yeah.
Chris, can you tell me about like what that was like for you, like the energy, and are you still
Sure.
starstruck?
So I actually wasn't on the boat. I opted to not go because of the whole, it was too close to racing and I didn't want to be out late and stuff.
I did not
But they
know that.
did,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. But I did get to participate in the Team USA before they walked towards the boat. So
Yeah.
we were all in like our building, the village, and with the NBA players down there, everything. And it was exciting. It was honestly just really cool to be amongst those athletes. And I felt like it was like an even playing field. Like it didn't matter that they were NBA stars. Like everyone showed respect for one another. And I was definitely starstruck. But they were very everyone was very friendly and like wanted to know who you were, what sport you did, what day you're competing. And so just that camaraderie was really cool to experience um, from like day one.
Like, how do they manage the logistics of all that for where everyone has to be? Like, was there like a group chat? Like, how did you know what you had to do every day?
Yeah, no, like Team USA definitely communicated to us. And also the village actually locked down. So after a certain time, you weren't allowed to enter or exit the village. And so we all knew that we had to be in one place and the security measures, everything was going on. So I think they did a good job of just kind of bringing everyone together and doing it that way.
I saw some athletes saying, calling it like prison or something, or like saying hi to people through the gate. Like, I figured they were going to lock it down, but how was that, Matt? Were you at all surprised by that?
No, I mean, my only Olympic experience was Tokyo, and we were well and truly locked down. Like we couldn't go outside at all. So it's interesting actually. After that opening ceremonies period and stuff, the athletes were free to travel about Paris and whatever. I went and visited Kirsten at the village, not in the village, but just outside a couple times, and yeah, so very different that way. But yeah, it was. I think for them, they handled it well, just being there and managing that.
The village. Wow. I mean, for me, it always is ridiculous that they cannot help but comment about everybody having sex. Like, that's the one thing in the Olympics I just don't understand why that has to be the narrative. Like, they
You
handed
gotta
out
have
about
chocolate wine.
a billion condoms this
I
one.
think it was
They
two
had.
billion this time.
Oh yeah.
It
Oh
No,
was two
yeah.
billion. Yeah.
honestly, I saw none of that. I didn't see any condoms getting passed out, nothing.
Athletes are
Um,
focused.
maybe, I don't know, or it just wasn't in the right place. Um,
You know, that
so
was
it's
candy.
funny.
You were like, there's just a bunch of candy over there. I don't want any of that.
Exactly, hands off. No, it's funny that media makes that a big deal because, yeah, I didn't see anything. And the village itself, Matt and Kevin McDowell tried to like prepare me for what that was going to be like. And to be honest, until I was there, I didn't understand. Oh man, it was a lot in like a good way, but in terms of like a normal race preparation, I could never have prepared myself for that in terms of the energy, the people, like even just having to go to the dining hall, like it was just
You never really got a moment to yourself.
no, there was no moment of quiet or like a lot of my pre-race preparation is just like in the hotel room, chilling, hanging out, watching TV. There was none of that. Like I didn't have a moment to myself, and that was just because of the demands of media, and then obviously having to go to the different training facilities and everything. And then yeah, just the life of the village. It was full on. So I remember waking up like after a few days of being there and being like, oh my God, my quads are sore. And I didn't do anything in training to make me sore. It was just like all the walking, all the standing on my feet, like
Yeah.
just those external things that I was totally not used to. So yeah, it was definitely an adjustment. But I just tried to embrace it and be like, this is a once in a lifetime experience and take it all in.
Specifically when it comes to every triathlete or athlete in general has a pre-race routine, a week usually, where we have these things that we'd like to look forward to because that's
Sure.
kind of like standard. Now, it looked like there was things spread out all over Paris.
Mhm.
How was it getting to the pool? You probably had an indoor trainer. Like, what were the logistics set up for you all? I mean, I don't know how many triathletes were there. It had to have been a ton. How
Yeah,
were you
I
all
would
training?
say, yeah, majority of triathletes stayed in the village. I know some like Great Britain. I know Flora, other Bermuda athletes actually stayed out of the village for those reasons I mentioned. They knew themselves for their high performance preparation. Being removed from the village beforehand was what was best for them. And then they came in after. But for us, Team USA athletes, we're actually really fortunate that Team USA invests in this training facility. So it was about a 20-minute bus ride away, and it's essentially a remote Olympic training center that they bring chefs in. So there's a dining hall with all the same food that we get here in the United States. There was a track, there's a swimming pool, there was an indoor track, there was a gym facility and like volleyball courts. Like every sport had like their own training facility, which is
Even
so
ping
unique.
pong.
Yeah, like there's it's so unique because like all the other world triathlon triathletes had to go to this pool for all the athletes and schedule lane time, whereas we could rock up to this pool anytime and do our swim just amongst us other US athletes. And I think
Wow.
that was huge to just kind of like get away from the noise and just trying to be in our routine and to be able to, I don't know, eat at the dining hall with other athletes. That's where I got to meet Snoop Dogg, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it was, I think it just kind of added to the team culture of the US and um, it's pretty special, unique that way.
Matt, could you go to those venues also when you were there?
No, no, I couldn't end up getting the accreditation for that, which is too bad because I would have loved to have met Snoop Dogg as well, well, and amongst the other athletes for sure. It's definitely a performance enhancer for those guys. I remember in Tokyo, maybe it's logistically a little bit more difficult there, but just schlepping all the way to these venues to swim
Yeah.
and whatnot and bike super far away and just instead of a 30-minute swim taking 30 minutes, it's a 4 to 5 hour
Yeah.
affair at the end of the day, and which is crazy. So I think for these guys, thanks Procter and Gamble, thanks all these US Olympic sponsors because they're the ones who make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, like even just finishing our session, there was dietitians there with
Ooh.
food and snacks, recovery stuff from the US. So it was so easy to just know you're fueling well with safe products and
Yeah,
eating the right things and
same
stuff
thing at home.
at home. Yeah. So that is definitely something I don't think the public knows that Team USA has, and it's definitely an advantage for sure.
I was thinking about that all Olympics. I was like, this is such a large atmosphere. Like, where does everyone do all their pre-training? And that the fact that USA puts that together is so cool. Like, congratulations on being able to experience that. And then, yeah, sponsorship. Go figure. That matter. It's like the Hunger Games. It's like you got to have
Sure.
good sponsors.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Did you
So
fly Delta on the way
I
there?
I flew Air France, which is a Delta
Delta
partner.
part.
So yes, Delta supported us to the
Shout out
games.
Delta.
Yeah. When you got on the flight, did they do it? Were they like, we've got some Olympians on board?
No, I did have the like head flight attendant come up to me and congratulate me and wish me good luck, but
Ah,
no, there was no public announcement.
that's all right. I mean, it's probably better that way because then you don't have to shake hands and get
Yeah,
sick.
exactly. I gotta be in my little bubble.
Now, the energy you brought to this race, like did you just kind of go into it trying to just stay level headed, or did you find yourself getting overwhelmed sometimes with like any emotions? How did that
Mm.
Olympic vibe
How
catch you,
was
and how did you
how was
manage
the
it?
bus ride to the venue for your Olympic race? I want to hear about
The
that.
bus
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah, the bus ride. You guys are all on there. Like
Oh
how many
no, it's
athletes?
fine.
Yeah. Was it chill?
Definitely. I was sitting with Sophie Lynn, Victoria Lopez, and Melanie Santos, and we were all just laughing and talking.
Just like
Chill?
No, I
Super
feel
League.
like,
Just like
yeah,
just like
exactly. It was all
regular
like our
racing.
athletes that we raced with all the time. So no, it was the race itself. I was excited. I was obviously at normal nerves, but to be honest, I didn't feel the pressure from outside or myself. It was honestly just kind of a race there. I was like, let's see what I can do. I've worked so hard to be here, and qualifying for the Olympics was the like big hard thing,
Yeah.
and now I get to enjoy it. And that's how I approached it. And even like, oh man, I've got goosebumps thinking about it. When I got called out and I'm jogging down, the crowds were incredible. Like I
Oh,
honestly started to get
Your
emotional.
parents were in the stands.
Yeah, but like even I just started to tear up and I had to be like, pull yourself together. You got a
I
race here.
I got
Um,
goosebumps for you right now. Like I can just feel it.
like the depth of the like fans and the crowds on the sidelines, it was unreal. Like I've never experienced that kind of atmosphere. And so that result aside, my result was not what I am capable of. I just try to remember that moment and just making it there. And that was like, this is it, with the Eiffel Tower there, my family and the fans and everything. It was really cool to have those massive jumbotrons along the Seine and see your face on it. And that was unreal.
It was to also be a spectator watching it on TV and seeing like, and I this is my one plug for me is like just having most of the Olympic team like that was on our Super League team, just
Sure.
being able to experience your all personalities that before that it just was so cool to know that you're there and like I know
Yeah.
you like that was
Yeah.
super cool.
Well, thank you.
Um,
Yeah, no, it's very true. It was definitely a special experience.
And so I don't want to get into the race just yet, but I want to talk about things leading up to the race about team dynamics. Was there structure? How were the conversations with the Taylors? Was there any tactics? And, the men's race, obviously, we heard a lot of drama when Morgan just started yelling at everybody, which, it's kind of like a Morgan thing to do. So I don't think
Very
Yes.
on brand for sure.
Very,
yeah.
yeah, no, I feel like we were all in a really good headspace. We're all really supportive of each other. Obviously, with Taylor Knibb racing the time trial before,
And
we
going
were
down like
concerned.
a couple
I know
times.
we were definitely concerned about her, but to see her rebound and she was swimming the next day and like laughing it off, we were like, okay, we're all in like a good place. And so, no, I actually felt like this team was really supportive of each other, especially since it's not really like it's an individual sport. So to have that, it was unique to I think the games itself, and with the relay being there, it was definitely important. But no, we're all just racing for ourselves. We didn't discuss strategy. I think the three of us knew that a swim bike breakaway was the key to all of our success that day. So we all had similar goals, but no, there was no actual discussion of race plan in that sense. When we were doing the pontoon draw, we did definitely talk about where we were each going to pick in what area because we knew it would benefit us. But yeah, no, it was definitely very much like for yourself in terms of your individual race plan.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, in the men's race specifically, we saw a couple athletes kind of domestique, a few athletes, and I really think that future races it'd be nice to see a little bit of like plan A, B, and C based off of who's where. And
Totally.
just, I mean, it's not like you can really predict anything, obviously, but I did like. It would have been cool to see if Seth could have pulled Morgan back, if that was possible in the first 2 to 3 minutes, if they could have maintained it just to give him a better shot. Not that, again, it's anyone's fault. And I think the other thing we didn't ever talk about because there was so much water quality was that damn current was savage.
Wild.
Tell us about turning at the first buoy.
Yeah.
Well, even before that, jumping in for warm up, I was like, I don't want to go too far. I didn't want to swim under the bridges, the first set of bridges to like have to deal with the current. And so I started to turn in front of one of the first openings and I was like going nowhere. And if anything, I was starting to go into the tunnel and I was like, oh no, like, how are we going to do this? Cause like I was trying really hard
You're a
and I
good
was like,
swimmer.
I'm going to waste my
Yeah.
race like right here in the warm up. So I just let it take me. I just let it take me. And then thankfully I got behind the bridge and at one of the pillars, like finally got out of the current and had a moment of rest and was like, whew, okay, this is just warm up. I got to get back to
Yeah.
the pontoon. So like, honestly, before the start, I feel like the chatter was everyone being like, oh my gosh, this current. Um, so yeah, the first buoy, I mean, we got to so fast and I feel like we were so bunched up that I think, third to the buoy. I was on
Yeah.
Victoria's feet. I had Flora to my right. I had Kate Woff to my left, and I got destroyed. I I got dunked, everything, but that's typical, right? I mean, you had everyone coming and piling up on you. So,
Mhm.
um, it was honestly on the way back trying to navigate and move myself up again to get position. So it was definitely on the way back, kind of my strength in swimming paid off and navigating, like going to the wall,
Yeah.
swimming along those boats. Like you had to, otherwise you weren't moving. Yeah, that was one of the hardest swims I've ever done. My arms were burning.
My God. It,
And
it
like
looked,
it was like 4 to 5 minutes longer than a normal race for us. So it was wild. I know Taylor Spivey joked with me after. She was like, on the first lap, she's like, there's no way they're gonna let us jump back in. There's no way. And so like she was kind of getting out of the first lap, hoping that they were like,
to the side.
you're done.
Yeah.
But no, we had to jump back in. So That was, yeah, absolutely. One of the hardest parts of that race. Um, definitely didn't, I underestimated that current until that race morning when I experienced it in warm up.
Yeah, they were like, you guys were wanting to swim, so you're swimming. It doesn't matter. And
Yeah, right.
you could see, I think, when the male athletes went off, like there was a couple guys who got stuck almost next to that one of the bridge pillars, and you could see like the
Yeah,
current bridging around that, and then they just like stopped until they decided to go a little bit more right to shore. Like that, there's only a couple races, I think, like Chattanooga 70.3, you have to do like a 300 or
sure.
400 meter upriver. And I remember those just being some of the hardest swim starts ever. And I can't imagine in an Olympic race having to put yourself through that. It must have been
Sure.
just
Yeah,
nerve
and
destroying.
I don't think us like US athletes at least practice for that. I don't know how. I guess we could have practiced swimming in rivers, but to be honest, I think that was something, an area that in the future people could probably invest some time into if it is a river swim again, because that was so unique.
How did that current compare to the test event current?
Oh yeah, it was at least three times stronger than the test event. So
Whoa.
Okay.
yeah, and originally we weren't actually allowed, the way the course was set up, they weren't going to let us swim along the wall on the way back. Like they were going to put buoys there to prevent us from going that close. But
What?
then they realized we weren't going to make it back if they did that. So they actually had to adjust the course like the day before the race to make sure that we could get back to the pontoon. So I feel like that says something for sure.
Does. And we saw
Yeah.
a lot of penalties too, because there was some folks just getting pushed into the wall without even having any chance to get away from it.
Yeah, yeah. I think just the current caused people to be a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more aggressive in that swim for sure, just because of I don't
Yeah.
know, the elements, right?
Yeah, it was like a what 3 minute out and like 7 minute, 8 minute back or something like that.
Definitely. We weren't moving.
And the start was a little hectic too because
Yeah,
I don't know, people couldn't even hear the
Yeah,
horn.
the fans were so loud that to be honest, I just went as soon as I heard the first horn. I'm not sure still to right now if that was their horn or if that was a fan's horn, but we went. So,
Wow, most of you did.
yeah, I guess some people didn't hear it.
Some lady was jumping in 2 feet first.
I know. So
she
I don't
fell.
know what's going on with the Olympic starts with Tokyo, the men having the
We
boat
had the
in
boat.
front of
Yeah, we
them,
had the boat. Yeah, that was
and
crazy.
then that happened. So it's interesting that that happens at the Olympics.
It's it's like when I think of each individual sport and I'm like all the coverage, the slow motion, the recaps, like the amount of production that goes into every one of these events, like that is world class beyond anything I can imagine. Doing all those 30 some odd events, like
Sure.
such close proximity. It's got to be the craziest production I've ever seen.
Sure.
So before we talk about the rest of the race, the
Yes.
athletes that you met also, like the U.S. swim team. Like for me, I love U.S. Olympic swimming. That's like one of my favorite events aside from triathlon. I just love, for some reason, the swims just always seem to be so like, I guess it's because it's like within hundredths of a second.
Yes.
Did
Yeah.
you get to meet any like icons there, or like who I guess secondly, like who was like one of those starstruck moments that you did meet?
Simone Biles for sure. Um, and then I did get a picture of Noah Lyles and
Yep.
Shakari Richardson. And I don't know, I'm very into the track, so it was like seeing
Yeah.
those athletes was really cool. I saw a few swimmers, but I didn't see Katie Ledecky. I would have loved to have met her. But
What about
yeah.
Caleb? Caleb the hunk Dressel.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
big
did.
Caleb.
I did see him hanging out in our Team USA athlete area, but I didn't say anything. I just
Yeah,
walked
you
behind
don't
him.
want
But
to.
I
You
tried
don't.
to play it cool, you know. You didn't want to always be asking for pictures.
Yeah, he's like the Rock. Like if you look, you're
Yeah.
like he's like Dwayne Johnson status. You're
Yeah.
like,
Full tats. I mean, when you're that fast, you can do what you want, I guess.
yeah, yeah. How about you,
Yeah.
Matt? Did you come across anyone that you got to chat with or meet, like a hero or a legend?
No one really I mean the one encounter for me was when I visited Kirsten and I was walking away from the village. I ended up walking at the same time as like a couple of the Canadian basketball players, so both NBA players, Jamal Murray, Denver Nuggets,
No way.
last year NBA champion, and then Dylan Brooks, guy he's kind of a good character in the NBA. He plays for the Houston Rockets. Anyways, but they were getting kind of mobbed. So I was just like walking beside them. But it's actually funny because I do triathlon or whatever, but those guys, like I'm one of the taller guys in the sport, I'd say. And so looking over at these guys, I'm almost looking them in the eye. And I'm kind of like, like maybe I could have done basketball, but then you look down and it's just like they're just built.
Yeah,
So
you're a little
they're
too
built
scrawny.
they're built different than me. So triathlon definitely a better choice for me. But it was just funny to run into those guys and yeah, it was cool because obviously, I mean, I don't know if you watched the basketball yesterday with the
Oh
US
yeah,
men.
I watched
Um,
all the basketball.
yeah, just seeing these athletes who obviously are millionaires, some are approaching billionaire status, seeing them lay it all on the line for their country, it really reinforced to me how important the Olympics still is and how big it is in the global context. And having Kirsten there, like she said, on the same level as these global superstars. Yeah, it reminded me how important the Olympics is.
And it's kind of it's cool, but it's a shame. Like it's only cool like every 4 years to be like a sprint
Care
rower.
about fencing, every 4 years you care about
Yeah,
fencing.
and and no one else in between is like, oh yeah, did you catch that fencing last weekend?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
just that's the and also like the funding for some of these athletes, like water polo teams, or even one event that I checked out because it was on like the Explore area was like some sort of gym routine. It was like where they were spinning hoops, rhythmic
Artistic gymnastics or rhythmic
rhythmic
gymnastics.
gymnastics. Like I never saw that before. That was mind blowing. Like, I'm
Yeah,
the funding to get over there. A lot of these folks are way less funded than even triathlon, and they're
Yep.
still doing
totally.
it.
Absolutely.
One more question before I get into race details too. How was like the state of Paris? Like I know traditionally when I've been there, it's kind of like hit or miss if it's going to be a little clean or not clean. I'm sure they probably did everything they could, but how was like the crowds and getting around? Matt, I'm sure you can speak to this too, is because you were out in the mix.
Yeah, to be honest, I took the metro a lot to go visit Matt and my parents, and it was definitely the easy transport. Like that was definitely the way to get around. I
Nice.
did try to take like Ubers a couple times, and with the road closures for every event, it was way too much. So no, it was good. Like I mean, I feel like the city itself was definitely what I saw very supportive of the Olympics, and I don't know, did you have a different?
Plenty of
Yeah,
cafes,
I
long
never.
lines.
Oh yeah, bumping. Everybody's bumping. But like I'd never been to Paris before, so I had no like reference point from before. But when the second I got there, the atmosphere was great. The vibes were incredibly high. You just everybody on the streets was wearing, their country gear. People from
Yeah.
Uzbekistan walking around with their gear, all this kind of stuff. The locals that I talked to, I know a little bit of French, so I talked to them a little bit, and they were all very supportive of the games and super happy to have it. So yeah, it was the atmosphere was incredible. The venues were, I mean, they speak for themselves. It was very clean there. I took the metro a ton, and it was always super clean. I don't know what it's like normally, but as someone who visited Paris during the Olympics, it was a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw a cameo of USA Triathlon athletes on the Kevin Hart and Keenan show, I think. So that was
Nice.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That
anything to get the triathlon name out there.
It's great.
We'll take it.
that show actually was way funnier than I thought it was going to be. They were like taking some shots. I did not. You should check it out if you get a
I gotta
chance.
check that out. I gotta check that out.
They take there's some shots at like people doing things on camera. I mean, it's really good. It was
Yeah.
awesome. Snoop Dogg also, how crazy is that? Like him being like a bit more of a spokesperson for like
Yes.
the Olympics. Like this guy
Absolutely.
in
He went to
craziest.
everything. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, NBC brought him on, reportedly paid him 500K a day to be out there supporting the athletes and being almost the face of the Olympics. It was a huge win. Just it brings
Definitely.
in even people who don't really care about the Olympics. Oh, Snoop Dogg's wearing the full horse,
Yeah.
outfit, like just stuff like that. I think this games as well with the organizers and the media, they just did a good job of yeah, bringing it to the people and making it as accessible as possible.
I agree. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Especially the race, which for the women's race, wow, that Flora took it out so hot. Built a decent little gap.
Yeah.
Kirsten, you were right there. Like seeing you and Taylor in that front group, I was just like, this is going to be an awesome run. I cannot
know.
wait. And So, I mean, and then the ice skating rink just started to like come together
Yes.
with those wet roads and just seeming like women were just taking a corner as cautiously as possible. And all of a sudden, it's like a sniper just took your
Yeah.
front
Totally.
wheel out. Like, it was, how bad was it? Like, can you, is it one of the iciest, slickest roads you've ever been on, or?
Yeah. So, um, yeah, had a great swim, stoked, got myself in the front group.
Right away.
Yes.
Was like, I'm doing it. Felt very focused, everything. And so when I did crash on lap 2 on one of the corners, I was on the ground and I was like, what just happened? Like I had no sense of me sliding out, nothing. It was just like boom, I was
Boom.
down. And so I was on the ground when I finally was like, oh my God, I just crashed at the Olympics. Um, but like that corner, I was probably like 6th wheel and honestly just following the line. Didn't feel like I was going too fast, like following the other athletes' wheels. So it's part of what I'm struggling with now post race is just kind of like I'm racking my brain, like, what happened? I'm like, maybe I didn't have enough weight on my outside pedal. Like I think about it, and like if I would do that corner again, I would probably do it the same way. So
Yeah,
it,
they
it's
showed a replay of it, like because they were showing athletes who'd went down, and they showed it, and I was like, it didn't look like you had any intention of being anything but cautious.
yeah, I'm still racking my brain on that one. There was this is one of the theories. I don't know if this is actually
Put it out there. Yeah.
what happened, but here we go. So
Conspiracies.
yes, right before that turn on the outside line, so the best line you would take on the straight section, there was horse poop that they had tried to clean up.
From the horse police.
Yes. And so you could still see it in the ground. And I definitely just rode over it. And so I'm like, maybe I had some of that on my tire. I don't know. Um, but it definitely was very slick. And then obviously after that initial crash, I was in the chase and I was riding and I felt comfortable with my cornering, everything, like was being cautious. And then I got the flat. And
Yeah.
so when I got the flat tire, I was still at least 2K away from the wheel pit and I was riding my rim. And so on the first corner I went to take with it, I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And like instantly down. So for the next corner, I was like, okay, I'm gonna unclip and like pedal with my foot on the ground. Just unclipping, I slid out. So
It's crazy.
I don't know. I should have probably got off my bike and just ran it at that point.
You would have
That's where I
slipped.
felt-
Probably would have slipped again. I mean, there it
I
seemed like there
know.
was no safe space out there, and
No. So it was heartbreaking, to be honest. I had the motorbike come up to me and was like, "You done?" And I was like, "No, I'm not done." Like I was just determined. And so they followed me, like waiting for me to pull out. And I was like, I am pulling out, dude.
Didn't pull up.
So making it to the wheel pit finally, unfortunately, when I got there, they weren't ready for me. So I was yelling at them, 140 rotor, Shimano, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, what? And I was like, come on, give
like
me the
we
wheel.
we didn't expect anyone to actually use this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunately, they gave me 11 speed cassette as well instead of 12 speed. So
Not a deep rim either than one.
I was stuck in quite the gear, and the tire pressure was definitely not adjusted for wet conditions. So I was happy I was on a wheel that was inflated, but it was a little scary too. So at that point, it became of just I'm getting to this run. Um, and I knew it was going to be close. So as I was approaching like towards transition, I saw the runners coming. And on the course in briefing, they tell us there's a last biker, first runner scenario. So if the first runner makes it to this point before the cyclist gets pulled off the course. So I could see them coming, Kassan, Beth, those ladies running towards me. And I was like, ooh, they're almost there. So I literally got out of my saddle and sprinted
Yeah.
just so I could make it to that point. Cause I'm like, this is obviously not the race I want, but I am running. I am getting to this line.
Yeah.
So then on the run, I just tried to obviously hitting the ground 3 times pavement. I was not moving that well.
Mhm.
And I just tried to take in the crowds. And at that point I could see Matt cheering for me and my friends and family from home who were there. They were screaming at me still. And, the fans actually, one part of the section, they made like a wave, like all like 50 meters and like did that for me. And so I still felt like energized from the crowd, and I was really appreciative that everyone was still cheering me on, even though I was running for like last place.
My
So the race itself is definitely heartbreaking to be in the front pack, doing it, knowing all that training I'd done. I was so ready. So that breaks my heart to not be able to put a performance that I can be truly proud of. I'm getting emotional right now, but
Okay.
no, it's going to take some time to process that one for sure.
Well, being proud of a result versus the effort, I think those are two very different things. And
Yeah.
Kirsten, for sure, that effort that you put out there, the resiliency. I mean, we saw Jean Leher go down and she couldn't continue. A lot of athletes went down, and you were amongst the casualties, but you fared better than even some. And
Sure.
how crazy that all that, never would have predicted the rain, the probable horse slick. Like I rode on Mackinac Island a couple weeks ago, and that place only has horses, and it rained. And at one point, I did roll over some horse crap that was just like plastered, and it was
Yes.
slicker than I've ever imagined.
Oh, thanks.
So like, how
Yeah,
crazy did I know exactly what you mean. It's like it could have been that for sure.
Sure. I'll never know, but yeah, I definitely wasn't alone going down that corner. So
No.
unfortunately, the wet conditions,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot of athletes going down.
it was slick. And I think you look at the time trial as well that happened a few days before, and
Yeah.
the number of women of these professional riders who are the best in the world going down. It's like clearly the roads were slick, and I got unlucky that I was one of the people that went down. But that's okay.
But still finishing, still being out there and supporting your team and supporting Team USA and showing that we still get the job done, even if it just punches you the whole time you're racing. Like, I know, I mean, every triathlete who's gone through a race and has had like a struggle, I mean, it could be catastrophic if the smallest thing goes wrong, but to have this many things kind of happen to you all at once, like huge kudos for just still having a smile on your face, doing what you can. I know there was probably a lot of emotions spent on this whole endeavor. What a roller coaster, and what a tremendous athlete you were going to be with all this experience.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously, everyone probably is going to be like, what's next? Like, what's next? what is this door open for you in terms of aspirations, motivations? LA 2028, long course in the meantime, Super League. More World Series. Like, what are your hopes and dreams now that you've experienced the Olympic goals?
Yeah, I know. I really was so focused on this race that I haven't really thought about the future. So when I finished and that was my result, I was like, 4 years, I could do that again.
Look where you put yourself. I mean,
maybe I want a little redemption,
Yeah.
But it's hard, right? Because I do long course definitely excites me. I would love to give that a try. I think I could maybe do well at that distance. In the immediate future, yes, super try is where what's up next for me, which I'm grateful that I have that, because I am definitely struggling with motivation right now in my day-to-day training. But because I have that race and I feel this fire to be like, no, I got to use this fitness. I am in great shape right
I
now.
got a chip on your shoulder.
I am ready to go perform. So I'm grateful I do have those races, and especially that they're in the US, the first two in Boston and Chicago. That's pretty incredible. Yeah, so I don't know what the future holds. I mean, honestly, Matt and I want to have a family. So like 4 years is a long time to work everything out. But no, I'm definitely not done triathlon. I'm excited and motivated to keep racing. I think coming off my back injury last year, I honestly wasn't sure if I'd be able to keep racing. But I'm in a place that's really exciting for me, that I feel healthy and my back's been good. And so I feel like I'm just finally getting going again and getting that consistency. So I definitely am not done yet.
That's good. And Matt's obviously still going to be trucking along.
I'm always going to be trucking along,
Everything.
Yeah, but now he doesn't have to do as many training sessions with me. So
well, we still got to do some, but
he did do my tempo run this morning. So
I did.
Yeah. I'm excited that you have Worlds this year. So now I can support you for Worlds. I told him that.
I got to get back in the shape. I got to get back in some form. We've ever since the spring, we've been full on with Kirsten's endeavors, and I mean, just super happy for her that she got that Olympic experience. And I know, obviously it wasn't the race she wanted, but most athletes don't have the race they want at the Olympics. That's the reality. I think it's important that you do go all in and do, because that's what else can you do, but eventually, obviously hard now, but you'll look back on those, struggles during the race, and whenever you're going through a tough time in the rest of your life, because life is hard sometimes. you'll always have that to look back on. And you just know, oh, well, I kept getting up, I kept pushing. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. I know I had some struggles before my Olympic endeavor. And, every time now I look down at my ring that, I look at the Olympic rings or whatever. And if I'm going through a tough time, then I say, hey, I did that. I can do whatever this is.
No doubt. I think especially taking all the other future races into account, this was certainly to this point the biggest stage, the biggest dream, and to have it just have so much adversity. Like, I cannot see anyone coming out of this ahead more than you, with Matt, with a great support system, being able to just come out swinging. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
And yeah, I guess like the sport is changing quite a bit. It's crazy. I mean, I think also like Taylor Knibb probably also equally disappointed with her day, not being able to make that swim group and then make up the ground on the bike. So everybody had a little bit of disappointment on some level. So certainly it's like any race. Like, there's only like one winner, and there's only a couple people who are going to be on the podium. And then there's like 50 other people who are like, well, this happened, this didn't go right. And so it's just, sometimes you have your day, and those are the best days of your life. And you have to, you gotta hope for more of those, because certainly you're going to get punched more than you're going to get held up as a champion.
No, it's very true.
So that's good. I guess from that, like getting home, getting settled, getting back to normal life, like, do you have to go on, like, is there media stuff that you have to do now, like aside from this very important podcast?
No, actually it's been pretty quiet, which is really nice. I definitely needed that coming home, but no, my focus has been fully on just getting ready for Super Tri. So we'll see.
When does that start?
I leave on Wednesday for Boston, so it's this coming weekend. I know
It's happening.
No break.
Oh my gosh.
Which
which team are you on?
I'm on the Stars and Stripes.
Nice. Okay, so Parker's your team manager. Perfect. Yes. That's good. I mean, you all are going to be in such great hands. I mean, I know we wanted to have a bigger part in Super Tri, and I was, I've had ups and downs of how that played out, but deep down, I can't think of a better organization to take the reins with the American side of Super Tri than Parker's organization. They have way more invested into that short course than I have ever. So I'm happy, more than happy, that they're making it work and giving you all support and an opportunity to race on such an impressive stage, because we know Super Tri sharpens Olympians more than any other type of race format. I mean, look at the stars and who've come out of that, and obviously seeing the men's race with Hayden and Yi, like, how insane was that?
Yeah, no, the racing itself at the Olympics was incredible. They put on an amazing show, those athletes, and it all around, like even in the relay, you could never imagine like France would have crashed and not been on that podium. So that's just, definitely is part of the Olympics. And the fact that Super Tri, a lot of these athletes show up and line up for that, it just shows that that type of racing, it really does help us athletes, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it was great to see silver medals for the mixed team relay. USA needed that. USA Triathlon needed that. Certainly next year, put you on the relay too. You need you.
Yeah, I know. That's a chance. That's the thing is, part of the reason I wasn't selected is just because I haven't been racing relays, and unfortunately there hasn't been enough opportunities for me to actually get that experience. So I would love to be able to do relays again in the future, and hopefully that there's more race opportunities for the next Olympic cycle.
Yeah. Did you do some in your World Triathlon racing? Maybe a couple of them?
Yeah. So
you have a good history of relays.
Yeah, you got a gold, a silver.
Any relay I've been on, we've won a medal. So but my last time I was on a relay was 2021. So it's been a few years. But
I mean, 2016, 17, 18, you just crushed it. I mean, you're there. Like, you're not.
Thank you.
You belong there.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't want to make the hard decision. They want to make the easy decision, and that's what they do.
That's what. Ooh, I like it. Shots fired. But that's everything within politics and
it is. It
family,
is. We all
everything.
know. Everything's political.
I'm ready to make the hard decision. I tell my kids they can't do this stuff
all
the time.
Get him on the selection committee.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just not. I know it sucks, and you can be mad at me, but I'm not your friend. I'm here to make sure that you're taken care of. But well, anyways, I think we've covered really anything and everything I really wanted to dig into. If I missed anything, just fire it off. But for sure, thank you both so much for being Matt for being there on the ground for some of our pre stuff with Blue 70, and it's just such like this bubble of I don't understand what it's really like to be at the Olympics. So Kirsten, thanks so much for giving us some really strong insights, and to the level of what I just watched for the last 2 weeks. Now I feel like I've got a better pulse on it.
Sure. Well, thank you for letting me share my race details and experiences with you.
I'm sure you're going to have a lot of those coming up. So thanks for making time for us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the Super Tri. Matt, we'll see you getting ready for Worlds. You racing before Worlds, Matt?
I think so. I think I'm going to do Michigan 70.3.
I'll see you there.
Hey, let's go. I think everyone's going to be there. It'll be good fun.
Let's have a good old time.
Camp, up in the, peninsula there.
Yeah, I was just there like 4 weeks ago, just checking it out. It's a great spot.
Yes. Beautiful.
You're going to love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much, and we'll be in touch. Peace out.
Thank you.
Thank you.